What's up, YouTube? Your boy back once again with another sports topic, and today we're gonna talk some football, Houston Texans football. Today we're gonna talk about should the Houston Texans make a move before the trade deadline to acquire a player that could potentially help out this offense in a major way. We're gonna break it down. But before we get in that, like I've been telling you before, man, if you're liking the content, make sure you're liking the channel. Make sure you're watching all the videos, you liking all the videos, you comment all the videos, you sharing all the videos on all social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, any type of social media platform you use, make sure you share them same social media platforms. Also, follow me on social media as well. The link in the description below. We still trying to get this channel growing and growing. I can't do that without y'all help. So you know what that means? It means I need y'all to do your part. It means I need you to tell a friend, so they could tell a friend, so then they could tell a friend, so they could tell friends, they could tell another friend, and they could tell a friend and put them on game with the channel. Really, really appreciate that. Now let's talk about it. So last week there was a report that at the time the 0-5 Jets was reported to either be shopping running back Breece Hall or at least be interested in trading running back Breece Hall by this year's trade deadline. There was a couple teams that was attached to their report. The Houston Texans actually were one of the teams that looked like they would be interested in trading for running back Breece Hall. Now the Jets have fell into 0-6 by losing to Denver yesterday. It's even more apparent that I think that they will be sellers at this year's trade deadline because that team needs a lot of work and it needs a lot of pieces. And if the pieces that they do have, if they can turn those pieces and flip those for other assets, for draft capital and things like that, freeing up some of the books on their contracts and things like that, freeing up some contracts on their books rather, that I do think that they will be open to, especially if the price is right. Now, the question is, should the Houston Texans be interested in going after the move and going after Hall? Or, and they are, what should they be doing? Because if you look at what the offense is doing for the last, 5 quarters, it has been very explosive offense. The last quarter against Tennessee and the entire game against the Baltimore Ravens, even though those were at the time the two worst defenses in the NFL. And again, the Ravens defense was depleted with a whole bunch of injuries, but still the offense still looked good. But I do think that the running back position is still a position where they struggled at. Now, again, I know we've seen a lot of things out of Willie Marks, especially in that Tennessee game. We really didn't get a chance to see him really cut loose in the Baltimore Ravens game because that game looked a little bit more like a Chubb type of game because Chubb ended up having, 12 carries for 61 yards in that game, if I'm not mistaken. So it looked more so of a Chubb type of game. And plus the way CJ was cooking and slicing the dice in the defense, you really didn't need to use the run game that much anyway. But the running game still leaves a lot to be desired because when you look going into the Texas bye week, obviously, like I said, offensively, points per game, they're 20th at 21.5 points a game. Total offense, they're 22nd with 314 yards per game. Passing offense, they're 19th. But we're talking about the running offense because we're talking about improving the running game. The Texans going to the bye week with the 16th best running offense, averaging 116 rushing yards a game. So they're right there at the middle of the pack. This is right there. Now, on the season, Nick Chubb has 58 carries for 249 yards, averaging 4.3 yards a carry with 2 touchdowns. Woody Marks has 35 carries for 137 yards, averaging 3.8 yards a carry plus 1 touchdown. And then he also on the air, he's had 6 catches for 95 yards and a touchdown. So that's really what Woody Marks is doing, really what Nick Chubb is doing. Like I said, Nick Chubb is doing a good job averaging 4.3 yards per carry. But in that Baltimore Ravens game, he did have a 27-yard touchdown, which was one carry for 27 yards. So if you take away that one carry, that brings his total down to 57 attempts, 222 yards, and he's only averaging 3.8 yards per carry. And I talked about this in my live the other day about, if you take away one of his carries, that you take away that 27-yard carry, his average dips down significantly. And people were like, why would you take away his carry? Like that he ran that carry, why would you take away that? If that's the case, you could just take away everybody's big plays in the NFL and see what their average is. And that is true to a certain extent. The reason why I think actually taking away that one carry in this case is because of what he's done throughout the rest of the carries. Like you look at that Tampa Bay game. He finished off that Tampa Bay game with only averaging 3 yards a carry. He had a 23-yard run in that game. When you watch that game, everything that was happening, he was getting stopped at the line of scrimmage. every single time. He was getting stopped at the line of scrimmage, only giving you 1 yard. And then he had one touchdown that a lot of people think that Tampa Bay might have just let him score so they can get the ball back and be able to do something on their last drive. So when you look at that, it's like, was that really him being explosive and him making somebody miss, or it was, it's just a breakdown of the defense? He caught the defense slipping, got a good yard, a good gain, a good yard, and that's great for him. And I'm not trying to take that away from him, even though in this instance I kind of am. But when you look at what he's done throughout the totality of his carries, he's giving you less than 4 yards a carry. So I do think that upgrading the running back position with Breece Hall would be a very, very good thing. Because when you look at, because I know some people like, well, Breece Hall, he's the running back that's always hurt, And because I thought that same thing too. Until you look at what he actually has done. And he got hurt his rookie year because he only played 7 games his rookie year. He ain't been hurt the rest of the time. Maybe it just feels like that because the Jets are just that bad. But this is what Breece Hall has done since he came into the NFL in 2022. He played 7 games that year. Like I said, he only played 7 games. He had 80 carries for 463 yards, averaging 5.8 yards a carry, 4 touchdowns. Then on the receiving end, had 19 receptions for 218 yards and a touchdown. The following year, played 17 games. He had 223 carries, had 994 yards, averaging 4.5 yards a carry, and had 5 touchdowns. Then in the air, gave you 76 receptions for 596 yards, 4 touchdowns. Last year, he had 204 carries for 876 yards, averaging 4.2 yards a carry, 5 touchdowns. And then in the air, had 57 receptions for 483 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, this year here, going into the last game of the season, we're not going to his last game against Denver, he had 65 carries for 351 yards, averaging 5.3 yards a carry. He hasn't scored a touchdown yet. Then he also caught 17 receptions for 150 yards, and like I said, hasn't got a touchdown yet. Now, this game against Denver, he actually struggled in the game against Denver because in the game against Denver, he only had 22 carries for 59 yards in that game, which brought his average down. Because now on his total season, because again, he went into that game averaging 5.3 yards a carry. Now his season total is at 87 carries for 410 yards, averaging 4.7 yards per carry. So even after having a bad game, that, like I said, and that's what I'm kind of talked about with the Chubb carry, that Chubb's one carry brought his average up. Well, one bad game from Breece Hall actually put his average down from 5.3 to 4.7, but still well above what you're getting out of Nick Chubb. And he's a guy who I think that helps out both the running game and the passing game. He's a guy that's constantly getting 50 catches a season, mind you, and getting over 300 yards. His rookie year is his worst year. Again, he only played in 7 games rather. Other than that, yes, he has yet to rush for 1,000 yards. But when you talk about what he's giving you on total production, both rushing and receiving, he's giving you over 1,000 yards. He's giving you 900 yards on the ground, 500 yards in the air, 800, almost 900 yards on the ground, and then giving you almost 500 yards in the air. So he's giving you 13 plus 100 yards a season when you talk about his total offense. And he's getting you 5 touchdowns on the ground, another 4 touchdowns as a receiver. So he's getting 9 to 10 touchdowns as well. So he's getting multiple touchdowns. He's getting yards on the ground, and he's also getting yards in the air. And also, he's a guy who can run block as well, and pass block rather. Pass block and help in pass protection. So he's another weapon, another asset that you can use for CJ Stroud when you talk about protection, and also just another pair of hands out there, viable, a threat pair of hands, mind you, for CJ to be able to dump the football off to when the pressure's coming. Oh, good. Hey, Breece Hall right there. Hey, William Marks right there. And I think that both Marks and Hall will be a viable dual running back combination. I know a lot of people are excited about Willie Marks. I like what Willie Marks did that game against Tennessee, and I want to see exactly what he would do going forward. Willie Marks is more of a smaller type of running back as far as I think he's like 5'9". I think he's only 207 pounds. So he's not a real big running back. And I don't know how much of the pounding he could take as far as going up the middle. Maybe get him out there in space and use him with counters and use him with tosses, pitches. Obviously, use him in the pass game because again, we draft him to be a third round back, a third down back. I mind you, we draft him to be a third down back. But I do think that he showed you he could do a little bit more than that. And I'm looking at it more so when you look at what's going on out there in Detroit with Gibbs in Montgomery, when you look at some of these dual threat running backs, you look at these teams that have multiple running backs, mostly two running backs, and they're using them in different ways. When you have two running backs that have the same skill set, because again, like Chubb is a thumper. Chubb is somebody you can run up the middle to. You don't really utilize Chubb in the passing game. You really don't utilize him in the receiving game. But with Breece Hall, you'll be able to utilize him in the game. So it don't matter when he's back there. The defense don't know because you can run the football here. You can just turn around and hand the football to him. He's gonna run it like an actual running back, or it could be a passing play. Sometimes with certain running backs, the defense kind of already knows what they're doing. Like if that running back is out there, more than likely they pass the football because he's not really as a threat as a running back. Or if that running back is out there, they're probably going to run the football because he's not a pair of hands. He can't catch. He's not a actual receiving threat as the running back position. So more than likely, he's not going out there to catch any passes. He's not going out there to catch any passes. So he's going to be out there to run the football. So with these guys, you can utilize them both. And then also think of the formations you can utilize with both of them being on the field. You can spread somebody out wide. You can have them both in the backfield. You in shotgun. You got Hall on one side. You got Marks on the other side. And there's just a multitude of different things, little fakes you can do, and then little dump tosses. It's just a lot of things I think offensively you can do when you add a running back of that caliber. And again, it's been a bad situation with the Jets. We know what's going on with the Jets. I mean, even though not Gibbs, but even though Garrett Wilson has had 1,000 yards every year he's been in the field with all the bad quarterback play with Aaron Rodgers being hurt and Zach Wilson and all the other things that's been going out there with the New York Jets and the things that are going on right now with somebody like Justin Fields, that it's just been like the New York Jets is one of those franchises that's been a mess. And you've seen running backs recently. You've seen running backs recently. Williams went from Carolina to Dallas. He's out there just running the football all over the place. And then the running back that once used to be in Dallas and now in Carolina for the last two games, he's at 200 yards on the ground. So we've seen running backs in recent memory, not to mention what we've seen last year, the renaissance that we've seen with running backs last year with Joe Mixon down in Houston, with Saquon Barkley in Philly, and with Derrick Henry in Baltimore, and also what we've seen with McCaffrey out there and with the 49ers, even Gibbs and Swift in Chicago, Josh Jacobs in Green Bay. We've seen a lot of running backs recently in recent memory go from one franchise to another. And they have to, like last year was most of the renaissance. We've seen more of the older running backs having like a free year, having a step in their career, a more viable season, mind you. They're like more of a blast from the past, if you want to say that. But we seen running backs like DeAndre Swift wasn't really doing anything in Philly, was hurt a lot in Detroit. And then he got to Chicago, and he's actually run the football extremely well. Josh Jacobs led the league in rushing with the what's his name with the Raiders, and we seen exactly what he's doing out there in Green Bay. So we seen running backs go from one franchise to another in recent memory. Just within the last year and this season, we're seeing it already go from one team to another and going out there and having a boom of their career and having a renaissance and going out there and just playing extremely well. Different offenses, different quarterbacks, different schemes fit these guys a little bit differently. And I think if you add somebody like Woody Marks, and again, I'm not saying you get rid of Chubb because you can still keep Chubb. Chubb can still be your short yardage guy. He can still be your ground guy, your ground and pound guy, and short yards and change because he is that caliber of thumper. I do think that Breece Hall is more so of a running back that you could possibly lean on, and he could be your primary back with Woody Marks going in and being your third down back, and also having both of them keep each other fresh because you're going from one running back to the next, so both of them be on the field. You're keeping both of them fresh, so you're not giving both running backs 20 plus carries. You're giving probably both of them 17 touches a game. You're probably and that 17 touches. That means you're probably giving like 13 rushes, 5 receptions, things of that nature, and vice versa. Like that's what you're doing with both of these guys. You're keeping both their legs fresh. You're keeping both of them injury up, and then also because you're changing out running backs, and then you could throw in and pop in a Nick Chubb and also a Bridge Brooks. That helps wear the defense down. Because even though, like I said, offensively we've seen the explosion the last 2 weeks in the last quarter against Tennessee, and the explosion against against the Ravens. Still the 20th best scoring offense, still the 22nd total offense, still you're just at the middle of the pack, still at the middle of the pack of the running game. Now the Texans, now what will the Texans give up to get Hall? Now when you look at what the Texans draft capital got, they have a first round pick, they have 2 second round picks, they have their own, then they also have a second round pick from Washington, they have a third round pick, they have 2 4th round picks, and one of those 4th round picks is Washington's 4th round pick, and then they also have a 5th round pick. Now, obviously, you're not giving up a first and you're not giving up a second. I doubt you would give up a third, and probably giving up a third probably would be a little bit too rich. But you got 2 4ths and you got a fifth, you got a couple sevens. So I feel like the Texans have the capital to go out there and get them. Obviously, you're not giving up a first, you're not giving up a second. With a third, I would pause. I don't know if I want to give up a 3rd round pick to get Breece Hall. I like Breece Hall. I think he would elevate and upgrade the offense significantly. I don't think that he is worth the 3rd round pick because what we're talking about running back that's in his 4th, going in his 5th year. Uh, so I don't know. And then if I'm not mistaken, I think he's going to be a free agent. If I'm not mistaken, if I'm not mistaken, because he was a 2nd round pick, so he doesn't have a 5th year option, and I don't know if he has a contract already. So I don't think that he'll be. So I think that he'll more than likely be a free agent going into next season. So uh and because of that, that also drives the price down because he would be a free agent. If he's a free agent, that definitely drives the price down. That means they can't ask for what they want to ask for because teams gonna be like, no, I could just get him next year without trading anything. Why would I trade for him now when I can get him next year without giving up anything? So why would I do it? That's stupid. That'd be completely stupid. Why would I do that? So I do think that more than likely will end up happening is like you could probably give up one of your 4ths. Maybe you give up a 4th and a 7th because you don't have a 6th round pick. Maybe you give up a future 6th round pick. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe there's a player on the roster you could probably be able to cut bait with and be able to move on. Who knows? Maybe you could give them a 4th round pick in DP, so they get a running back in return. They get a running back in return, and then you also give up and they also get a 4th round pick out of it. So they get a 4th round pick and they get a running back in return to at least they still be able to run the football. And who knows, DP might benefit better being in new scenery and also being with the Jets, and the Jets might benefit off that. So that might be a win-win situation. So I actually think that really should really be probably you give up one of your 4th round picks because you got 2 of them. And I don't expect Nick Casario to be drafting. I don't expect him to draft both those 2nd-round picks, and I don't expect him to draft both them 4th-round picks. So I will give up one of them 4th-round picks, and then also give up DP, and you go out there and you get Breece Hall. Now, the scary thing about it is the Chiefs were also in the mix as one of the teams, and I could definitely see the Chiefs going after them because as of right now, like Patrick Mahomes is their leading rusher. Like Patrick Mahomes is, and like Patrick Mahomes ain't no Lamar Jackson, he ain't no Justin Fields, he ain't no Josh Allen, he ain't no Michael Vick. He's not a quarterback that you would think that would be leading a team in rushing. Like so, he leads their team in rushing. So Kansas City desperately needs to run it back. So I could definitely see Kansas City being the mix, and I can see Kansas City, especially in the desperate situation they're in, because like they're in the same situation the Texans. They're both 2-3, and actually they're worse off because they have more the Texans have more NFC losses than they do, so they're behind the Texans when it comes to when it comes to the actual standings, when it comes to the playoffs, because of the Texans losing the 2 NFC teams and the Chiefs lost to more AFC teams. So that's the thing. So I could definitely see them making the move, and they can possibly be one to give up a 2nd-round pick, and that's what I'm saying about that's the scary thing about it, because they might be so desperate they'll give up a 2nd-round pick for Breece Hall, and that's something that again that's a no go for the Texans. I don't care if we got 2 2nd-round picks, no, because you can draft a running back with the second when in the second round if it came to that conclusion. But I do think going forward, I do think that Texans do need a run back because especially with the news with Joe Mixon, with non-news with Joe Mixon, like I said the other day, I don't expect Joe Mixon to play for the Houston Texans this season. And if he does, it's going to be later on in the season, like in December. I don't expect Joe Mixon to be a Houston Texan the remainder of the season. And like I said, or playing this season. And if he doesn't play this year, I'll be very surprised if Joe Mixon is a Houston Texan going forward because he only has 1 year left on his contract, and that's more money that you can get up off of. That's money that you can move around if you so choose. So I definitely see a situation where one, Joe Mixon does not play this season. So because of that, and because of really, I don't really think going forward what we see out of Nick Chubb, like again, that's the reason why I kind of do want to take away that 27-yard run because everything else around, like other running backs that have big runs, they still have pops throughout the other runs, even though they're not 20-some-yard runs. They're looking good in their other runs. Chubb doesn't look good, and he's constantly getting stuff, and then he gets a pop. He gets a pop, and that pop in the run could be like a multitude of anything. Personnel changing on the defense, a break of coverage in the defense. The offensive lineman got away with a hole. The offensive lineman actually got a real good hole. He was able to get like it's a lot of different things that can conclude and actually contribute rather to that big run. The defense just let in Tampa Bay, the defense just letting them run and letting them score and get a touchdown because they're trying to get their offense back on the field. So it's a lot of different factors because when you look at the junction and you look at what's going on throughout the rest of the game and the rest of the plays, you're not seeing that same type of running caliber. You're not seeing that same thing. So so that 27-yard run to me kind of seems a little fool's goalish, a little fugazi, if you will. To me, that's just I mean that could just be me, but to me that looks a little fake. It looks a little fugazi to me. It really do. So I think that getting Breece Hall would be an upgrade. And again, you have the assets to do it. He's the type of running back that I think fits in this scheme well because, again, it gives CJ another pair of hands to dump the football off to if he needs to, and also turn around and hand the football off to as well and be able to make plays. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't, comment below if you haven't, click that bell, get more videos. I holla.